So uh, everything you said makes sense about what Palantir needs to do to like make sure this thing really doesn't become a big threat. But why haven't they? Like, why is it the German philosophy over Satya's 1 minute?
I don't want to call it German philosophy. That's really unfair.
Well, I think it's unfair too. I was defending it 2 weeks ago. I got flamed by everyone in the comments saying, "Oh, he shouldn't be that." But like, why doesn't Karp say what Satya says, and it doesn't click?
Well, it's not his job, right? Like, it's not Alex Karp's job necessarily to go out and do that. I mean, he can, and it doesn't have to be Look, let's put it this way. Yeah, I get this to be the CEO out there explaining it, but it's not necessarily, like there are other people in the company who can make those arguments. And I always felt Sham did a better job of like tying things to real world value. I always got like, when I heard him talk on all the interviews he's given, I was like, wow, that gets me pumped, Yeah. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be Karp. I don't think it has to be him. But the better question is like, why hasn't anyone there made a compelling pitch?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't answer. I don't know. Like, and it's not like it's not compelling. It's fucking
exactly.
amazing.
That's what I was about to say. It's like it is compelling, but it's not what Satya just said for some reason.
It's compelling if you're like a geek, an engineer, someone who really thinks big picture, like, and that's probably reflective in somewhat in their customers. I'm guessing those companies probably have some really forward-thinking CEOs or whatever. I don't know that. I mean, it'd be cool if people know in the comments, like some of the CEOs of those other companies, but maybe they're very forward thinking, and like, to me, like I would never listen. Like, I don't even watch the Microsoft updates every year. The only reason I watched this one is because I heard about it through the Discord, like I watch what Palantir has to say, I watch what visionaries have to say. That's what I'm interested in. But like, dude, the rest of the world who you need to like buy this product doesn't, so I think they've got to like do some real soul. I've been highly critical on their marketing and on their PR for a long time. Like, people who follow me, they all know, Go back a year and a half ago when I was on JG's channel ripping them a new one. I thought their marketing was dog shit, Like, you can't be so fucking high-minded all the time.
Yeah, I was just about to ask. I mean, like marketing communication, it is everything. I mean, Peter Thiel and Reid Hoffman, they were they're sort of key theses where like you could have the greatest product in the world if you don't have distribution, it just does not matter.
But that was an economics argument, right? That was like, if it costs too much to sell your product, then you're going to make off it. Then it doesn't matter how good it is. That's not the case with Palantir,
right? But just in the context of, I guess, having brand awareness, like what I'm seeing is Twitter posts, YouTube videos, and like LinkedIn content. Like, I guess, do you think there is a like very differentiated way for them to pierce through the noise of the industry and get people to like care about them?
I love their culture. I don't want them to change who they are. I don't want them to change their DNA. Like, they just fucking need, like, this is why I've been harping on a developer community. Is like, if they would just get a goddamn person who can reach the developers and make those arguments under the radar, they don't even need to change their grand vision. Like, honestly, you can do a bottom-up approach, but like, someone has got to know what this thing is used for besides just me, Like, so it can't just be me and the fuck against the world to try and teach people what Palantir does. So like, it's either got to be the CEO and the leadership that's going to make those cases that people understand, or it can be an army of developers who are showing the world, not just like making some sales pitch, but like actually building this shit out and showing like real demos of it in an open source project or in demos that other people can access. And that'll light the world on fire a lot faster than the CEO of Microsoft doing a goddamn thing. Trust me. But like, people keep underestimating the power of a developer community. And like, I've even heard you say, Amit, like, you don't see the value in a developer community. Look, motherfucker, this is what drives innovation. All right. This is why Unity's where it's at. This is why fucking Unreal Engine's where it's at. You get developer adoption, you will conquer the world, in a heartbeat. It won't matter what the CEOs say. The CEO's got to deal with developers. Half of my job is dealing with developers. If the developers want a technology, it's going to win. Period. End of story. Full fucking stop. But like, they need to make a decision, one or the other. If you're going to drive it through the executive level, great. Maybe you just want to go with the forward-looking companies, but us as shareholders, it sure be nice for you to tell us that. If you're going to go out to the global 6,000, you don't care about getting to 100,000 customers in 5 years. But like,
yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I agree with the developer stuff too. The reason I said that is that debate with ticker symbol use, because it's so funny why I said that. I said that because I was trying to defend Karp's philosophical argument, and like your analysis is just like, if they just got the developer community on, it would kind of permeate under the
It would. It
hood,
would kind of just permeate under the radar. They wouldn't need to
almost
change
like
a thing.
wildfire, and it would
Yeah,
drive
exactly. It would
business
spread like
results.
wildfire. Yep.
And to me, that makes sense. And then I'm over here debating Alex, who agrees with you, but I'm trying to justify why Karp's going super philosophical. And my only justification in that 8-minute monologue that we get before earnings, which companies like don't do that stuff, is like, oh, well, Karp's like, he has to get this nuclear war thing in everybody's brain. And that's where I'm like, okay, well, that's important. And now I'm just like trying to understand and analyze this. Let's talk about that.
Let me try and break it down the best way I can theorize it. And this is just me speaking, but like, I heard him say something the other day about like, he grew up with, like his parents were pretty liberal. He always felt like an outsider. You know, his first early role models and stuff in his family were like gay artists, and like he never felt part of an institution.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
It's kind of like the way I grew up. You know, my mom was a ballet dancer. My first fucking male role models were mostly gay dancers. Like, I grew up hating institutions, hating authority, hating power, but at the same time, like, you know, also wanting to do epic shit, you know? But I never did feel part of institutions either. Like, and you could hear the way I talk. Like, do I talk like I have a fucking, like, I really care about people's feelings, or like, you know, any of that shit? No, I'm gonna say what I think, you know? But that's fucking epic if you're trying to change the world, you know?
Yes.
So
yes,
Karp is Karp, and fucking thank God we have him running that company, in my opinion.
Right.
You know, they're doing some epic shit, and they're going to continue to do epic shit. The problem is people don't know they need that software yet. They don't know where we're going. Most businesses are just trying to compete and especially right now, like the way the economy is, like, you got to give them something that resonates with them. But that's why I don't want them to change their DNA. Their DNA is awesome. What I want them to do is like give this fucking thing to software engineers, so because there's so many people have reached out to me with ideas they have to build on Foundry. So many people are like, if I could just get this fucking thing in my organization, I could solve 50 problems that we already have, you know?
Right.
Is an army of people lining up to fucking take this product if we could just get it in our hands, you know? It just baffles the mind that like they're not further out in front of this, you know? But I think they have the right DNA. I think they got the right leadership. They will win, in my opinion, provided they can solve real problems today for companies. You got to take the baby steps. You know, not everyone is going to wait for you. And it would be a shame. Like, we've seen this play out a couple times where they lost out on the data warehouse market, and then they lost out on the lakehouse market, even though they were doing that way before anyone else was, you know? And I don't want to see that happen with the data mesh, because that would be, in my opinion, really, it would cut off a lot of the market, you know?
So the sort of idea here is that they need to get it in the hands of softwares and developers, and that needs to happen ASAP. But Karp's DNA, like, if he thinks people don't get why nuclear threats are large, he's going to say it. He doesn't care, like, if you perceive it in any way. All of that needs
Karp
to
is one of the smartest guys on the planet. I love to hear what he has to say. And by the way, like, the guy is privy to more intelligence data than you and I are.
Yeah.
You know? So I kind of believe him when he has, like, his track record is pretty good. Like, go look back a year ago at things he was saying and like see how well they've tracked.
So how did you feel about the shareholder letter then? That 8-part like poetic letter before earnings.
I
like,
love it. I mean, I love to read stuff like that. Like, you know.
Like, but did you think it wasn't reading because I agree with you, but do you think it wasn't reading the room, that they knew the stock price was going to fall because obviously earnings weren't phenomenal?
No,
so like,
I think Karp believes he has a bigger mission than just where the market's at today, which I would agree with. I mean, look how they were raised, you know.
I agree.
Yeah. So I love that he's running this. I love what he has to say. I don't fucking care about what it does to. I don't care about how people are reacting to him, because he's right, motherfucker. Motherfucker is right. You know? So like, the only issue is that, like, the problem is that all these other companies are dealing with real world problems, and there's this wave of innovation coming. And if they don't position themselves and time it correctly, it's not going to matter if you're right or you have the best product. It's going to matter which way the industry breaks, you know? And it's like a herd mentality in a lot of ways. Like, this industry is once there's a reference architecture, once there's a way you solve X, everyone's just going to solve X that way, you know? And so I just want to make sure that they're out in front of that, and they've got things in the works, I'm sure. Who knows? But like, I know that they're thinking about these problems. It's just you have to time it right. And if you ignore it, you know, or you don't devote the right amount of resources to it, you know, like how many people in the chat have heard the fucking saying the best product doesn't always win, you know? It's reality, right?
What did you feel about this usage-based pricing? Can you give us any insight on this? Like,
yeah, my insight was finally, you know, because that's how everything else works for the most part. You know? It's not that it's the only pricing model, because like the Lyft example was not usage-based pricing. That was a negotiated contract for how much I will spend with you because you're raping me with all these other spends. Like I might spend double that if I don't come up with a cap, you know, and I won't try and get off your platform if you bring the price down for me. So like that Lyft example is the extreme case, but like most platforms have all have usage-based pricing. And they all have multiple tiers, right? It's not just usage-based. Freemium, everyone's kind of got a freemium, right? They've got like the one-off team price, which is generally a different rate. They've got like the 10 plus users rate, you know, like there's a ratcheting system. And finally you get to enterprise at the other end, you know, where like, and most of the time they hold you hostage with security features under enterprise. And they'll cap expenditures for certain things they know you're going to use a lot of. It's just weird that like no one at Palantir thought like, oh, we need a similar model. Yeah, you need a fucking similar model because no one wants to talk to you unless you present it that way. Except for like, yeah, I mean, like let's put this way, except for the biggest companies, you know.
Right.
So, yeah. But it's just weird because you want to know what they're going after. You're like, if all you want is some percentage of the global 2000, then what they're doing is perfect. But like, as shareholders, when you hear them say things like, this company can 20x, or there's no reason this company can't 20x, whatever, like you have to believe that they're trying to go beyond that. And so like you have to wonder like, where's the strategy at to get there?